In the meantime, the pathogen breeds. In the meantime, the pathogen breeds.
In the meantime, pathogen
Breeds. B-R-E-E-D-S. Breeds.
pathogen
Breeds.
You can see the screen here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this one, this paragraph I'm just telling you. In the meantime, the pathogen breeds, making us ill. So don't write you. It is written you here. So you don't write you, right? Making us ill.
Breeds after that.
Making us ill.
Making us ill.
Us ill.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now you write that line. So as you have written this line before, you don't need to write it again because you have started with this line that why the number of antibodies does not begin to rise immediately.
How much marks we can get for this answer?
You just match the answer with what you have written. I'm telling it again. Okay. So I'm telling it from the very first line. The number of antibodies does not begin to rise immediately after the first infection, as it takes time for the right lymphocyte to recognize the pathogen and then a few days more for it to produce a big enough clone to make enough antibody to kill the pathogen. In the meantime, the pathogens breed, making us ill. Okay?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the last line you can also skip. That means you can avoid this last line. You may write it or you may not write it. As your question is just why it takes time for the antibodies. The main point is here that it takes time for the right lymphocyte to recognize the pathogen. This is the main line that you must write. Now we are explaining that why it takes time, because it takes time to produce the first, it will identify the pathogen, then it will make clone. Clone, I have told you that exact copy. So once it identifies the pathogen, makes a single antibody that has the complementary size or particular shape or pattern to it, then it will make a number of copies of the antibodies of C should be enough to kill the pathogen, the number of pathogens that has entered your body. Because the pathogen, it is written here, so you may not avoid it. It is also very important that the pathogen the pathogen is also increasing by number, so that the same number or more than that antibodies also we need to kill the pathogen. This is why we need time for the first time when you get the infection. But once you have got the infection, you have made the particular antibodies that is particular to the pathogen, then what happens? The memory cells are there. Memory cells will also be produced. They will recognize, they will have it in memory. That means that this kind of pathogen is. And the next time when you will get infected by the same pathogen, then it will not take time for this detection. Okay, so the memory cells will immediately start their action. They will immediately start making the antibodies, and the pathogens will not get the time to breed or to multiply their numbers. Okay,
because at future that pathogen has entered to our body.
Yes.
For the first time when you get infected, it takes some time. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's see the next question. What is the next question? Question number 10. Describe and explain what happens to the number of bacteria the second time a person comes into contact with the bacteria. Exactly right now I have told you.
Yeah,
so
the memory.
Just arrange it properly. I have just told you. Just to arrange it properly and tell. Aradhya Rahman. Sheikh Aradhya Rahman. Yes, you tell me this answer properly.
Ma'am, I haven't written the answers because my net is not good.
See, I've just told you, you don't need to read it. I have just right now. Because the first question was, when you get the infection for the first time, what happens? And when I was telling you this answer, I also just told you that what happens to the second time. Okay, who can tell me the answer?
I will tell.
Okay, Arijit, tell it. And other
When
students also turn on your video. Why you are turning it off? Everyone else. So many students are present in the class. Yes, turn on the video. This is your first class, so don't turn it off. Yes,
when the
Arijit.
when the
Aditya
pathogen
and Rupanjan has also raised their hands. I will come to you
when
also.
the pathogen
First
get
time we
into the body again, this memory cell will be ready and waiting for them. They will kill the
I can't
pathogen
hear
before
you
they
properly.
have.
I can't hear you properly, so a little bit louder. Can you tell it?
Yes, when the same pathogen get into the body again, this memory cell will be ready for them to kill the pathogen before they have time to produce their large population to do any harm.
Okay, so memory cells will be ready and it will not take much long time. It will not give the pathogens time to multiply in their number
Multiply,
and make us
yeah.
ill. Okay, correct answer. Now Samuddin. Yes,
Yes,
six
ma'am.
Samuddin. So
When
what's
the
your
bac-
answer?
yes, ma'am. When the bacteria will enter for the second time to our body, then our memory cell will take less time to identify that what type of pathogens it is, and it will produce enough antibodies to kill the pathogen.
Very good. Now Rupanjan.
Yes, ma'am. When the same number of pathogen enter our body, the memory cell make more antibodies and they kill them immediately without any time.
Okay, so all of you are absolutely correct. Your answers are correct. But as it is written, you can see describe. That means if this question contains the same thing what I tell you when it will come in your exam, always check what marks this question contains. If this question contains 1 or 2 marks, then you write this in this short form. Okay, that the memory cells are there, they will detect it and it will not take much time. That's it. Only this short answer. But if this question contains 3 marks, or you have seen that 4 marks question also sometimes come, and this descriptive type of questions, they sometimes also contain 3 or 4 marks. Then you will have to make this answer a little bit lengthy. You will see the space that is given. It is also a little bit. There is more space given for these answers. So as it is written, describe the short form. In short, how you will write, you have already told it. That is absolutely correct. Now you write how you will explain it. Okay. So you start writing the answer. Right. When a person comes into contact with the bacteria, when a person comes in contact with the bacteria, for the second time, when a person comes into contact with the bacteria for the second time,
Into contact after.
For the
For the
second
second
time.
time.
okay, don't write second time, okay, write it first time. We will write something, then we will go to the second. So when
First
a
time.
person comes into contact with
No,
with the bacteria for the first time, when a person comes into contact with the bacteria for the first time,
In the person,
when a person comes into contact with the bacteria for the first time,
When a person comes into contact.
then the lymphocytes, then some of the lymphocytes,
Then
some of the lymphocytes,
some
sites,
LYMPH
antibodies, make the antibodies
When
Some
and
of
some
the
of
lymphocytes,
make the memory cells.
some of the
When a
lymphocytes,
person comes into contact with the bacteria, I'm telling it from the very first. When a person comes in contact with the bacteria for the first time, then the lymphocytes, some of the lymphocytes make the antibodies, and some of them some of them make the memory cells. Some of the lymphocytes make the antibodies, and some of them make the memory cells. These memory cells
and some
will be
of the,
ready,
and some of them
some
Make
of them
memory
make
cell.
the memory cells. Memory cells. Look at the screen. Exactly here it is.
These memory cell.
Memory cells. And some of them make the memory cells. These memory will be ready and waiting for the pathogens when they will infect the same person for the second time. These memory cells will be ready and waiting for the pathogens when they will infect the same person for the second time.
waiting for the pathogen.
These memory cells will be ready and waiting for the pathogens when they will infect the same person for the second time.
Yes, ma'am. Completed.
Wait, ma'am, when they will infect.
I'm again telling the previous line. Okay, these memory cells will be ready and waiting for the pathogens when they will infect the same person for the second time. Okay. Now you write the memory cells. The memory cells will kill the pathogens. The memory cells will kill the pathogens before they have time to produce a large population and do any harm. This exact line that is given here. The memory cells will kill the pathogens. The memory cells will kill the pathogens before they have time to produce a large population and do any harm. Thus, the person will become immune to that particular type of pathogen up to this.
And
Thus,
pathogens before then?
before they have time, I have marked the line. Same as it is written in your book. To produce a large, that is thus. Means this is why, or this is how. Thus, the person becomes immune to that type of pathogen. Thus, the person becomes immune to that type of pathogen. Become completed writing, you read the answer from the very first so that others can also just simply match it with what they have
Okay,
written.
ma'am. When a person comes in contact with the bacteria for the first time, then some of the lymphocytes make the antibodies and some of them make the memory cell. These memory cell will be ready and waiting for the pathogens when they will infect that kills the pathogen before they have time to produce a large population and do any harm. Thus, the person become immune to that type of pathogen.
So all of you have written the same answer?
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's see what is the next question
Yes,
here. Question number 11. Predict and explain what would happen if the what would happen if the person is infected with a different kind of bacteria